Hello, Wire fans, or just great TV fans. We are back for another deep dive. The Wire theme discussion breakdown squad is back. We are on part 3 of our 4-part theme discussion. And with me, as always, is Stay Puff. Shaun, man, how you doing?
You don't know shit.
I'm doing good, man. How's everybody going?
You look all slick and cleaned up, man. I feel like you had all those amazing.
You mentioned it last Saturday. I saw that comment to say, "Look, Shaun got cleaned up because I got the ladies coming on, man."
If you guys didn't see last Saturday Shaun's show, it was amazing. He had the most talented African-American ladies in comics on there for a really, really rousing panel. I put the link to Shaun's channel down below, but you should check. If you haven't subbed him up, do that, but then find that video because it's definitely worth the watch. But he looked all like, ladies, here I am. Yeah, you're surrounded by the beautiful ladies of comic books, and there's Shaun all spiffy.
Yeah, it was fun, though. It was fun.
And Ryan got cleaned up, too. The beard's, trimmed back. He's looking all professional again. Fire guy, how you doing?
It's kind of coming back in a little bit.
Yeah. And
I'm doing okay.
You got your Lost shirt on?
I do. I can't wear this with anybody else, John. It's only with you.
There you go. Well, talking about quality TV, right? So it all works. It's part of the theme.
Pretty much on the same level.
Ooh, don't tell Shaun. Don't tell Shaun. So, yeah, we're back here for part 3. If you missed parts 1 and 2, there's a playlist. This is going to be added to it, and you can catch out some of the theme discussions we've had so far. We've got one more to do after this in a couple of weeks, and we'll let you know a little bit about those as we get there. But I'm going to say hello to this chat. We got Mr. Ruben Guzman first in the chat. Thank you, Ruben, for coming by. Rod is sharing this all over Twitter and Facebook. He is the social media guru around here, so thank you, Rod. Old Wolf is hanging out. He says, I love those DIY electrical YouTube videos. I don't know what that has to do with this, but I appreciate you saying hello and stopping in.
Wiring,
The wire. Oh, I get it now.
That's how you wire things.
Gotcha. Nailed it. Hello, Tessa. She says, drinking a root beer float and getting ready for some top-tier entertainment. Thank you. I hope that you mean us. I don't know that you do. Hello, Biggie.
Do something else.
Yeah, right. It could be. Biggie Shaq, hello to you. Hey, Ronan Brothers in the chat.
He just got me a new Green Lantern statue for my my collection.
Ooh, we'll have
Nice.
to zoom in on that. We'll have to zoom in and check that out. Sam I Am is here. What's up, Sam? Thank you for coming by. And my nephew is in the chat. Hello, Beckett. This is not really a kid's thing. You probably aren't going to want to stick around for this one, but I do appreciate you coming by, buddy. Sadly, no cousins here for you to enjoy. Carlito Clasico is a film TV buff, and I'm sure he has a big place in his heart for The Wire. We got Comic Head 84. When you walk through the garden, got to watch your back.
Mm-hmm.
This says, well, John and Stay Puff are top tier at least. Ooh, burn. Nice shot. I like that. Well taken. Well taken. So let's check out that statue real quick, Ryan. I'm going to blow that up here a little bit.
Can you zoom?
I can blow you up, and then you can. You can't move it. Yeah.
It is this fellow here. I would move him, but he is extremely posable.
The white glove.
Yep. If I touch him, he'll fall over, and that's a whole thing. So I'm not gonna do that. But it would be. I guess that guy's from my brother too. So I'm most of them anyway.
So those that have missed this series so far, we are doing a breakdown of The Wire, but not by season or by character so much as by theme. We're looking at 4 of the themes we thought were most important to the series. We did addiction last time, and we're going to be doing evolution next time. Tonight, however, we are looking at truth, which is a very important part of the show. Kitty cat, hello. Truth in particular, I chose this for the thumbnail because the newspaper discussion, and certainly even in today, I feel like news and what is true, fake news, false facts, all this kind of stuff, questionable. What is science? What is real? I feel like the newspaper season more than any other feels like it's about truth, What do you guys think, Shaun? Is there a season that you feel like more defines truth than season 5?
Because it's dealing with journalism, and people has an up and down relationship with journalism, because you have those that report the truth, and then you got those that like to exaggerate and look for the sensationalism side of it, as opposed to just reporting the facts.
Right.
It definitely is, because that's what Gus is all about. He wants pure hard facts. He wants the truth. And when he sees something that he don't think is actual facts or truth, because he could read a quote and he said, well, this don't look like a type of quote somebody would say.
Right.
And then he's gonna bring it up. He's gonna question you on it. So his whole persona, his whole job is to point out what's facts, what's fiction. And if he sees that this is more fiction than reality with facts, then he's gonna question you on it.
Yeah, everybody's talking about. I think there's a smoke alarm battery going off, but it's all right. Don't worry about it. We won't. Nobody's going to get fired and caught up tonight. What about you, Ryan? As far as a season that really epitomized truth, did you come up with the same feelings about this season 5?
Yeah, it's definitely got to be this one. And I think as a whole too, I feel like I'm the only one who feels this way, but season 5 grew for me on a rewatch. Also season 2, I guess, but the fifth season in particular, because I already really didn't like that one.
Yeah. I showed my wife that one for the first time. She had seen the first 4 and I just never showed her season 5. I was just kind of like, yeah. And then I was like, I got to watch it. So let's watch it together. And I think she enjoyed it more than she thought she would. And I certainly had moments that I appreciated a lot, but it still isn't the best one for me. I think Shaun said the same, right, Shaun?
In season 5, yeah.
Yeah. Simeon can't hear much sound, but it's good to have you here, Simeon. Thank you for coming by, man. I know you're a big TV and movie fan. So we're going to jump right into discussions of truth. And like Shaun mentioned, Gus is the first character that I wanted to discuss for this topic. If you don't remember Gus from season 5, he's the city editor for the Sun, and the Baltimore Sun, and he's sort of the one overseeing all the zealous journalists running out through the city, reporting on crime, politics, you name it. In particular, he is mentoring 2 young writers, a woman and a man, and sees a lot of possible talent in the young lady, while maybe feeling like the young man, at least at the beginning, might be bending truth in order to have a better story to tell. I think most of us probably really like Gus. I think he has a lot of integrity and for me, I liked him for this topic because he has a real passion for the truth. He does not care about a good story. He wants it to be true first, and then maybe we can dress it up to be something entertaining later. That's kind of his attitude. Versus the upper editors really want it to be entertaining first and true in the background, perhaps. How do you guys feel about Gus? Shaun, what are your feelings on Gus?
I think he's the best character in the newsroom for me because of the things you just said about him wanting the truth. He wants the paper to tell the truth, to be honest, and have good journalism, good writing, and when he always go over people's papers, he always has that time like, hey, time for you to submit, when he goes over. And to think about that job, the editor, you got to read all this paperwork and proofread it, check it for spelling errors, grammar issues, and then facts or, quotes and all the other things. So it's one of those, and I liked him in Homicide, the actor. I liked him in Homicide.
Yeah.
And he was, I think if we would have gotten at least another season with him, we could have gotten even more out of him, with him chasing down the truth in terms of how these journalists want to go their way with telling their stories, you know.
Yeah, and I think that was something you and I were talking about before going live, just the idea that most characters on this show are never like one-dimensional or one aspect. That, you know, even when they epitomize truth or what have you, there's this other side that is also present. And I feel like Gus never got the chance to show that side of him that would be willing to bend the truth, where his ideals meet the road, you know?
And the funny thing is that he's an editor. His job is to edit and make sure everything is well received. But his bosses are going for that sensationalism. They're going for that entertainment. And that just felt like, you know, because the Baltimore Sun was going through a different phase, you know, in terms of losing people and changing over, they wanted something to attract people to pick up the papers. So they felt that the sensationalism of journalism is what they wanted.
Right.
But Gus wanted the old-fashioned way because he felt that if you do that, then you're going to gain disrespect from others because people are seeing this as sensationalism, and it's not true journalism. It's not real reporting. It's just, you're just trying to sell papers to keep afloat. And, you know, that's what Gus is going against when it comes to the bosses.
For sure.
I'm noticing a tie-in to the police now that we're talking like this. This is sounding exactly like how we've had discussions before about the higher ups at the police station aren't really as concerned with like results and like true police work so much as they are getting things worked out for them better politically, or like solving headlining kind of cases, you know, like window dressing type flash in the pan sort of things, as opposed to actually getting something accomplished. It's just hitting me now, but I'm noticing parallels between the police.
And the concept, I think McNulty brings it up a lot on the police side, that idea of real police, right? Real police work, real policemen is a theme that's true, I think, in every aspect, right? Those people that are real union workers, the real dock workers. You got those people that are really living life on the street, the real wheelers and dealers. You got the real politicians, the one who are being truthful. Not that there's a lot of those around. But the idea that there's people that are like, at least in some way or another, motivated by doing a job right, not necessarily doing it popularly. And
it's funny, Presbeluski tried to go into the school system to be a real teacher, and yet the school system is telling him to do this, and, you know, don't try and be a real teacher, you know, do this. Because the moment he tried to figure out a relationship with the kids and it start working, they come in and change everything up. So it's like, how can I do what I do best when the system keeps throwing, you know, curveballs at me and changing things up? So it goes the same with Gus. You know, I'm trying to do my job. I'm trying to edit, and I'm trying to make sure these reporters are doing their jobs the right way. But yet my bosses are telling me, just let that slide. You know, we're going to push it too because it's nice, sensational journalism. You know, it's something that'll sell the papers. You know, the homeless case. Oh, this is big time. We definitely need to push this. And they looking at, you know, Pulitzer prizes and all that stuff. They're not even looking at whether or not this is accurate or not. They just looking ahead instead of looking at the now.
Which connects to like some of the stuff that I know we're going to bring up in the next guy. So maybe I should move on to the slideshow. We might go through this quickly and then just discuss the theme at large a little bit at the end. Here he is questioning everything in front of the great quote about journalism that's on the wall at the entry lobby for the newspaper. Did he make it all up? That's the question that he has to kind of deal with as the editor. So here's our next guy. This is your guy. I chose this quote where he says, "See, the thing that everyone knows and no one says, you follow the drugs, you get drug case, you follow the money, you don't know where you're going." Which is a different version than the way Freeman says it.
That's what I was about to say, because I know Freeman said that a lot.
He says, the way Freeman says it makes it sound like it's a good thing. The way Cedric says it makes it sound like it's a bad thing, right? Freeman says it like, we're going to get you get drug users and drug dealers. I want to get the money men. And Cedric says it like, we want a drug case. We don't want to know we don't want to get caught by surprise where this case might take us.
Yep. And
So,
that's the thing with Cedric is that in the beginning he was all about the drug cases, rip and run, doing things how they do in the Western District or Eastern, but he had that conflicting battles with McNulty. McNulty was all about the Barksdale case, while Cedric was all about maintaining order. He wants to do things in the chain of command, right? And he wants to be as truthful as he can, because he knows he's got Burrell breathing down his neck. Every time Burrell's constantly asking him, "You done with this case? You done with this case?" And Daniels has to fight off Burrell on one side and McNulty on the other, because McNulty is doing things his own way. And then you had the issue with Carver, Herc, and Presbelusi with them going in the high rises, and Daniels have to deal with another issue and covering up for that. Now, he made up a lie to cover his men because he knows that they ain't gonna get themselves out of that situation, and those are his guys. If they fall, he fall. So he has to come up with some solution to make sure that they can cover themselves by giving them a story and stick with it. And I will say this about Daniels: he does care about the people who's under him. Whether it's Herc and Carver, whether it's Kima, Presbelusi. We saw that throughout the 3 seasons where Prez does something, and while he looks at him as an incompetent cop, at the same time he still wants to cover for him. He still wants to help him out. And nothing was more telling than season 3 after Prez accidentally shot a cop, thinking that was a street guy. Daniels really felt for Prez, and when Prez said, "I'm done," you could tell that Daniels felt bad because he really wanted to help out Prez more. So
you brought up the idea that that he's a character much like Gus who might be driven by truth, but we get to see Cedric make a decision of a lie being more important in a certain case. Is it possible that a character in at least Simon's universe could maintain integrity ever, like for their career?
Well, in the case of Daniels, he made up the lie to cover his men, but it never came back to bite him. Right. Outside of maybe the boy who they picked up, and remember, Prez was the one that hit him. And and Daniels tried to smooth that over. Didn't go so well, but it didn't really hurt him. Right. So that whole incident didn't come back to bite him, as opposed to saying what the papers was that Burrell had. That was like the biggest thing that people wanted to find out, was like, what was the dirt that Daniels did back in the Eastern that led to Burrell having this paperwork to saying, if you try and screw me over, I got this paperwork that'll do you in.
Yeah, that was like this. They kept bringing it up, this idea that they have something on Cedric that they could use if he steps out of line at some point, as if there were maybe a lack of integrity moment earlier in his career.
Yeah, because you see as each season progresses, Daniels gets more and more in favor with certain people who has political powers, namely Carcetti. And it's like moving up the ranks. Burrell sees this like, oh, Daniels could be the new guy. So, he has that leverage of the dirt on him to try and deny Daniels from moving up. Because the one thing about Daniels is he knows he did dirt, but he's trying to atone for that. He's trying to say that was years ago, and now I'm a different person. I'm trying to be as honest and as rightful as I can be. Whatever happened in the past, if it comes back and do me in, I got a law degree. I'll fall back on that. But at the same time, I just want to do my job the correct way, chain of command. And, we all want to find out what that dirt is, but I liked that Simon kept it ambiguous, that we don't know what it really was about. We all know it was dealing with maybe money stealing and stuff like that. There was that because it was hints of that.
Yeah.
But in terms of the true information, we don't know.
Yeah.
But we do know that Daniels wanted to make amends for that. and by just doing great police work and trying to do the best as he can, because he knows the system is against him, even if he's trying to do things to help the system.
Well, I mean, so he gets into the truth, and I was hoping Ryan maybe could get into, like, Cedric cares a ton about not cooking the books, right? The truth of statistics and the true crime statistics and good police. What are your thoughts on the truthfulness of Cedric as a policeman?
I think he's pretty good compared to, on the spectrum of people that we have in this show, examples of police officers to go off of. He seems more than most to be cognizant of kind of the rules, I guess, and the way things should be done. Like he's always on McNulty, for doing his McNulty cop things. He doesn't really abide by any BS. So I think as far as the mysterious shady dealings that he may or may not have been doing in the past, I feel like I like that they didn't dive into that or answer that or reveal any of that. But I think also at the same time, it does show that he is not totally immune, like you were saying, that there's no perfect people in this kind of universe.
Yeah, it's like you can't play in that playground without getting dirty, right? You can't exist in the Simon universe without having some shade to your integrity, right? There's a ton of people in the chat I didn't say hello to. Gore Vidal says Daniels, I thought, was the moral compass of the show. And I think that's kind of why Shaun at least wanted to headline and discuss Cedric a little bit. He definitely, maybe because of his experiences when he was a young cop, has this desire to be straight with the numbers, with his coworkers, with the whole system. So that's a great comment. We had Pocan Joe, hello to you. Hello to Rob Boswell. And Comic Head says, I like that they left some things open-ended, like Rawls' nightclub activities. Yeah, that was a great little sneak moment, right? Gore Vidal said that a Daily Beast reporter named Christopher Dickey, son of the Deliverance author, died yesterday. He covered Central America, Middle East, and was based in Paris. And there were tributes like the kinds of things that Gus would have done. That's kind of cool. And I think Sharon, I said hello to you, but I'm just saying it again. Hello, Life with Two YouTuber. She was greeting the chat so nicely. So I think I like Daniels a bunch. I think he's definitely one of the most likable characters after you kind of get over McNulty's problems with him. And I think, to Shaun's point, he's very true to his guys, even when it's somebody as difficult to like as McNulty. I think Daniels does a ton to back McNulty. Yep. Somebody who is clearly a flawed individual. Daniels can still get the most out of him and throw him aside when it's garbage day.
When Daniels was promoted and McNulty went to the street level in season 4, I think before that, Daniels like, you sure you want to do this? Because, I can use you in the detail. And McNulty's like, nah, I'm fine. So that shows that all the backdooring McNulty did to Daniels, especially going behind his back in season 3, going to Bunny Coven to get that case back on Barksdale.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't like you, but I still respect you for the good police work you do. Even if you piss a lot of people off by doing it. So he knows how good of a cop McNulty is. And he's willing to say, bygones be bygones. I still want you in this detail. Because I know when you're on the detail, you're still going to put in a lot of good work, even if you're going to rub people the wrong way with it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the Cuba Gooding Jr. line from Jerry Maguire. Yeah, even if I got to ride your ass like Zorro, and I think that's Cedric's attitude towards McNulty. Like, I'm going to stay on you and we're going to do this right. Like, I'm going to watch you like a freaking hawk. We're going to do it right. Like, I'm not going to, but without Cedric, the second he's outside of Cedric's coverage, McNulty is like, his addiction explodes, right?
Yep.
And so I feel like Cedric is the foot on the brake or the hand on the wheel.
Cedric got him off the boat in season 2. You know, when they were saying we need McNulty, and he went to the bosses and got McNulty off the boat because McNulty was spiraling out of control in season 2. Sup, Al?
Ryan, I thought you were trying to say something there. I didn't want to interrupt you.
I just got the mental image of McNulty like leaving the police station and saying bye to Daniels and getting in his car, and then just cutting to that scene of him drunkenly swerving around the corner, just like wasted already.
And hitting the pole twice.
Yeah.
You know what was one of my favorite scenes? Was the scene after Daniels found out about the homeless thing being fake? Was when McNulty goes in the elevator and Daniels is right there. And that was like one perfect scene because McNulty got the stuff in the and Daniels already knows. He said, to be continued.
Yeah.
That was the perfect way to end that segment.
So good. So good.
He's just an intimidating man.
Oh, my God, yeah. Pocan says, Daniels has a fallacy, as all people do, in that they right manner wins, which is a perspective driven this show later in the season, but good points, panel. Okay, thank you. I think that the thing that we kind of were discussing lightly before the show started was the idea that characters, even somebody who is purely an addict, has those moments when they overcome their addiction before falling prey to it again, perhaps. And in this case, even those people that champion truth over time are going to show evidence that maybe truth isn't all they're about, right?
Yeah.
Hello, Jabroni. Thank you for coming by. And I'm sorry I didn't say hello to you, Al. Dusty Brick Brown is enjoying the autocorrect there, so enjoy that. I got the Daniels gift that I chose is this is bullshit. That just makes me laugh. So we got Ryan's up next with Carcetti. I will kick his ass the next morning. I still wake up white in a city that ain't. So our next.
Are you showing them?
Sorry, I'm sorry. Did I not show that? I'm sorry. It wasn't on the stream. Sorry. I got to go back. I was reading it, but not this. There.
Okay.
That was the sorry. I thought it was on. My bad. And so there is Carcetti. Sorry. For Ryan.
So we decided to talk about truth for this video, and I'm drawn to this man. I don't know why. I'm really drawn to this sneaky, slimy bastard. I'm pretty sure it's because of Game of Thrones.
Right.
But you get into this show and you're like, you're sucked into his journey, because the way they follow him when they introduce him as he's running, you kind of root for him. You're supporting him. You're seeing it from his perspective. So you're believing in all of the campaign promises that he's making. And then over the course of like the following 2 seasons, you watch and see from in the room all the decisions he makes and the choices he makes to kind of give up basically on the promises that he made while he was campaigning. So in a sense, you get to see the lie, I guess, it was what it comes down to, because he lied, promising to clean things up. And then there's a moment near the end of the 4th season where they find out that there's like a $50 million deficit in the budget, and he's screwed. He's pretty much screwed. He has a choice to like go to the governor and beg for millions of dollars as a giant favor to fix up his own city, or he can choose to not do that because he wants to run against that governor soon in the election. That would be better for his career, but it would screw over the city because he wouldn't get the money to help the city. So he's got this terrible decision. And of course, he chooses to not get the money and better his own career and just kind of screw over the whole city, or at least the schools.
Yeah, I think Shaun was mentioning his campaign manager's reactions to some of those key moments where Tommy has to, his ideals meet the realities of the job. Did you want to say anything, Shaun, about that character and the dynamic between campaign manager?
I was going to bring up how the school budget just wrecked his whole.
Oh yeah,
his whole mold. He was ready to put his mold in motion. As soon as they mentioned the school budget, bro, his heart dropped. He almost sat out his ass because he was wrecked. You know, he couldn't even go forward with nothing. And like you said, Ryan, he had to go to the governor, and the governor was just playing games with him, letting him sit and wait, pretty much, you know, toying with him because he knows he's coming to the governor to beg, to beg for the money. So, and to point out, Norman, greatest side character to Carcetti, that dude just dropped lines after lines every time. When Carcetti was first introduced, he was a shady guy because he was doing shady things behind his wife.
Right.
He was a slime ball because he was cheating on his wife, and they never really went along with that. That was just something that they started, and just let it be gone. But he also, by running for mayor, did his boy Tony Gray dirty because Tony Gray was planning to run for mayor, and then when Tony Gray found out, he was upset.
Of course,
you gonna run for mayor, not even let me know about it, because so he backdoored Tony Gray just to run for mayor. So there are definitely shadiness about Carcetti, and the one thing I always come back to is when he was giving that speech in front of the police, and McNulty asked him. I've seen many guys say the same thing. Are you gonna, make that change? Are you gonna stick by your word? And Carcetti said, "Yeah, I'm gonna stick by my word. Change is gonna come." And we see by the end of season 5, it's the same old thing. Juking the stats. That's where Daniels is hard on not wanting to juke the stats. He said that's been going on for too damn long. I want to be honest with the stats. Keep it clean. And Carcetti is like, I really wanted to make this guy our police commissioner, but because he's hard on not juking the stats, I can't let him be commissioner. And Daniel said, I'll step down rather than, continue to try and be commissioner because I know I'm already on your bad side by not wanting to juke the stats.
And I feel like that's that's for me is the summary of what is the failure of Carcetti, but maybe the redemption of Daniels in some way. So the yin and yang of their relationship is definitely one of the truth of crime in Baltimore, right? What is the reality on the street? Because even when Royce runs around saying crime is down, we're watching a show that is clearly showing crime is not down. Like crime is still happening consistently. There's no change. That's the truth of the situation. Daniels wants to get to a place where the numbers can be read unbiased, clearly, and just be the numbers as they're supposed to be. And Carcetti promises that as his truth when he's campaigning and his truth when he speaks to the men. And the second the budget becomes the focus, I feel like he buckles under that pressure, that political, whatever career, a politician pressure. And Daniels, I don't want to say he doesn't buckle because he quits over it, but he certainly is not going to fold like a lawn chair and just take it, right? He's the guy who's like, my integrity says the truth of this for the city matters more than my career. And I really wish he had the moment to just speak his mind, like in an op-ed or, whatever, just like get it out, because it was disappointing that was the only thing about Cedric's redemption that I felt like was lost, was that he had the truth, knew the truth, but was going to put it in his pocket and walk away and let Carcetti play the political game again. And I wanted him to play that card instead of just keeping it in his pocket. And for me, that's as much as someone can be redeemed on the wire, Cedric had his moment, whereas Carcetti just absolutely.
I think that was
when he sent his lackey to go talk to the police instead of going himself, and the lackey was like, "No, we need the crime stats to go down. We need to show this. We need to show this." And I was like, "Where's Tommy? Where's Tommy in that moment, right? To own his flip flop?" And it's no, he's going to send that flunky, that lackey guy in instead.
And the thing about it is, Daniels would have pushed it, but Nerys was smart by giving the files to his ex-wife and sending her to tell Daniels, because she knows that she has a stake in this as well. If Daniels would have fought, then she would be in jeopardy because she was in the seat that was used to be what's her name? I forgot her name, but she was in that seat, and she played a huge part in her rise,
Right.
into the political power. So if Daniels would have went up against the system, they would try and take it out on her. And she even said that, like, if I'm caught with your dirty past, they're gonna come after me. So they put Daniels in the position where he can't win no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. And he has to choose between his wife's career and the true crime stats that he cares so passionately about. And I just wish of course, it's The Wire. You can't get everything you want for these characters. And so, yeah. Ryan, how do you feel about the Carcetti Daniels back and forth? Because I feel like their truth stories are linked for me.
They're pretty linked, and you also get the sense by the end that there's no way that they can both go forward in their paths in charge together. Like I couldn't see like a Mayor Carcetti and Chief Daniels like administration happening at the same time, because they butt heads. They're not really, like we've been saying, they're not really in alignment on their willingness to fudge the numbers and play the game. So
another thing about Carcetti is that he, in order to save the school budget, he did cut the police budget some, which is why they had low morale. They had no overtime. Guys was complaining. It was like you tried to solve one situation, but you created another one with the police,
right?
Being so down and out because they ain't getting the overtime and stuff, and they coming to blows. Carver was trying to manage his guys because they were complaining about not getting overtime. So he just created a whole new situation with what he did with the police in that season 5.
Which spurns McNulty's efforts to get the money they need to do the casework that they want to do, and his big lie as part of season 5 that everybody buys into, and which brings me to the gift for the realization when poor Tommy realizes that the only truth he was really succeeding with in his administration was based on a complete sham.
Oh, because he was going out there saying, we fight for the homeless people. I'm going to make sure that, no more homeless people are dying. And then he get this news. He like, what? I just did all that work on camera, and now it's a lie?
Yeah, exactly. So there we are, back to the beginning here. For me, it'll be interesting. For the three of you, do you feel like I kind of asked this question before we went live? I have the real world and the David Simon world, right? Does truth exist in the real world, and does David Simon think truth exists on The Wire?
To be honest, truth, it exists, but it's not something that's, I would say, admired, because everybody lies. You grow up as a kid and your parents teach you, don't ever lie, you shouldn't lie. But then you realize adults lie just as much as we kids lie for things, and it's unavoidable. You get caught in a situation, a lie is going to form in your head because you want to get out of that situation. You want to tell the truth, but at the same time, sometimes that lie is too tempting to not throw out your mouth, and say, I could probably get away with this lie. And, truth exists, but it's like 50-50 with a lie, because it's hard to be truthful when the lie is always speaking in your ear and saying, tell this lie. You might spin it a different way.
Oh, and sometimes a lie sells better than a truth, right? You mentioned that, like, truths can be upsetting, right?
Yeah, because sometimes you're too truthful and you're too honest. That can get you in trouble. You could be 100% honest, and people don't like that because now you're spilling out more beans than you used to tell.
Right. Ryan, what are your thoughts about, does truth exist in the real world or in The Wire?
I think it does, but it's certainly a double-edged sword. So it's like, if it's something you want to fight for, you have to fight for it knowing that, it applies to you too. And everybody's got things that they may have lied about at certain points, or that they didn't tell the truth on.
What's a great quote? I don't want to interrupt, but a great quote was Slim Charles when Stringer Bell got killed, and Avon was like, this ain't about Marlowe. Stringer was different, and Slim Charles said, if it was a lie, we fight on that lie. And it didn't matter to him if it was truth or a lie. He's gonna fight on it because that was his own man.
That was his boy. Yeah, just like Cedric would back his troops, Slim's backing his guys, right?
Yeah.
We kind of can't talk about truth in this show for all this time and not mention that part. So, thank you. That line from Slim Charles is pretty important to this, I would say.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about that line too the last few days. I'm like, man, that's the perfect line to throw out there. And when you asked that question, I was like, I gotta throw that Slim Charles line out.
Well, I mean, one of my favorite, I don't want to call it a crime drama, but certainly like police corruption dramas is a film called Night Falls on Manhattan. And Andy Garcia and Ian Holm play father and son police officers, and then Andy goes on to become a district attorney. And the discussion of police corruption and police lies come up a ton. And at the end, Andy says something along the lines of he came to a point in his career where telling the truth felt like the wrong thing to do, and that telling a lie felt more just. And I think it always struck home with me because just like on this show, I feel like nothing is ever 100% anything, right? It's like, like Shaun said, like your mom tells you the truth, always tell the truth, but the truth is, the reality is, it doesn't work that way in the world. Somebody who always tells the truth is probably going to find a lot of hate in their life and butt up against a lot of frustration around them. And white lies are what adults use constantly, whether it's tooth fairies or whatever. There's a million of those in the world. And it's interesting the way the show presents truth as an ideal, but at the same time, the final season is all about doing good with a lie, despite the fact that McNulty's doing 100 horrible things. He's getting money to the right cops to complete their cases a lot of the time. It goes awry at the end, but it's an interesting discussion. I know that Shaun wanted to discuss a little bit maybe of Bunk and his role in the truth versus lie final season.
And the Bunk was not about that homeless case at all. But he wasn't going to rat out McNulty and Freeman, because it's like you're friends with somebody, right? And you've been tight for years, but then they do something horrible. They do something that's ridiculous, and you want to stay loyal to them, but at the same time, you don't like what they're doing. And Bunk was like, I want to tell the truth, but I know if I tell the truth, then they're going to look at me because of like, oh, this all this time and you finally coming out and admitting this. So it's like, it's similar to Juice. When Tupac killed Raheem, Omar, Q did not want to say nothing about it because he knew if he say something about it, not only is he going to rat out on Bishop, he's putting himself in line because he was there to witness it. So, he don't want to lose loyalty to his friend, even if he's gone crazy, but at the same time, put himself in a position where he can still go to jail. So
Because that truth is going to cause a lot more damage, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the bunk knows that if I rat out McNulty, I don't know what my end deal is going to be. You know what my end game is going to be. So as much as he wanted to just get that shit over with, because every time McNulty come and Bunk looking at him like he's like, man, you happy now, motherfucker? You happy,
Right.
bitch? You know, all this money McNulty's getting through the overtime, all these people coming up to say, I got a case, you know, I need to work it. I need extra hours. And Bunk is just sitting there like, see what you done started? It took Kima to do it because, you know, she didn't have that long tie that Bunk had with McNulty. You know, where those two been together longer. She known McNulty for a couple of years, but she was like, this got to end. You know, because she was putting in a lot of work, which McNulty, like, nah, you got to stop.
And that's kind of where I was going to drop this in Ryan's lap. Like, you got McNulty clearly playing the lie. He brings a very truthful guy, Freeman, in, cons him over onto the side. But I feel like on the other side of the coin, you have these other officers you've mentioned, Shaun, Bunk and Kima, who aren't playing ball. Like I mean, Bunk's not saying anything, but even Kima is like, they're not playing the game. There's a truth versus lie element there, right?
Reminds me of how Herc was the one to like pull the plug on Amsterdam back in the day too. Like sometimes it's the people you think are your friends that end up, you know, setting the record straight and clearing the deck for everyone else. Because things do get out of hand. But do we really get any other cops like views on the whole homeless case? I think
the upper management obviously has their view, but as far as the street guys, it's just those four primarily, right?
I was thinking Landsman, you know, but I guess he's more higher
management. Up. He's definitely management.
Yeah. Oh, he was annoying McNulty constantly. He like, you know, we sending you all these guys, and McNulty's like, oh, I only need like one guy. He's like, what the fuck, McNulty? You know, this is your case, and they say that you need people. I'm sending you people, and you keep rejecting them. So you can see his frustration through this whole ordeal.
Yeah,
you know, he's trying to do his job by giving the orders to these guys to say McNulty needs your help, and McNulty's like, nah, I don't need their help. So it's like, what the fuck is this whole thing about?
Well, and for me, like the real, it's hard to know. As far as the question of like, does truth exist? Like I like to believe that truth exists in a strict sense. And I think that David Simon believes in it as an ideal, but he also, I think, believes that it's really hard to come by and really hard to acknowledge. And the lie that is the core of what McNulty's doing ends up being an epic failure. And the guy who does real police work, the Bunk, is the one who pulls down the only case that they can actually put somebody away on. He does the legwork to put away the shooters for the houses, because he's the one working the case, going back over it and realizing where Herc and Carver screwed up, where the witness went, how they can piece this all together. I feel like that's where the truth is successful, and McNulty's lie almost ruins all of it.
Bunk did real police work,
right?
No,
and Kima as well. I think Kima as well.
Making me want to rewatch the whole thing just to catch things I missed the last time.
Well, what I just was curious what you thought, Ryan, as far as does Simon seem to believe in truth or want to reward truth, or is he viewing it as an impossible ideal, like a godlike element?
I'd say he believes in it in a sense. Like the way that the show is shot is like we get a pretty in a lot of cases anyway. I'm thinking like in Omar's death, spoiler alert, we get a lot of just on the ground level, you know, like we see exactly as it is, how it happened, with no kind of opinions or like coloring happening to it. We get just the actual unvarnished truth of that. And I think in that sense, David Simon believes in truth, in that he shows us a lot of neutral perspectives on events like that. But at the same time, you get a pretty cynical feeling from the way the newspaper plot line wraps up with the prize at the end, and the bad guys getting away with it in a broad sense. Like, I'd say he believes in it, but he's also got a pretty cynical attitude about the whole thing.
Jason says Omar always tells the truth every time. He even admits he robs drug dealers on the stand. So truth exists 100%, at least in one person. And I definitely considered discussing Omar as an element of truth, because he is a character who exists within a sphere of no bullshit.
Well, while he's right on that, we chose the characters that has flaws to their truths. I think Omar is too easy to talk about when it comes to him being true. Because, yeah, he is 100% truthful. He'll tell you straight up how it is. But then you can't find no flaws in his game to really counteract it. That's why I think the characters that we touched upon, they has their truths, but they also have their lies. And they have flaws in their games where we could pick apart and dissect and discuss even further about it,
Well, I think, and I also think that if you really, as much as Omar does not BS for the most part, I think, I want to say last time we talked about this, the moment when Bunk sits him down on that bench and the abandoned train station or whatever,
yeah,
and runs him down. I mean, they both run each other down on the flaws of what they're doing. But Bunk drops a truth bomb on him. The idea that, like, you act like you're all about truth and you're all about helping the neighborhood and doing whatever, but like you're just perpetuating all this crap. Like you're continuing all of this. So you can't act like, you're not in the game when you are definitely a part of this.
Oh yeah.
And I think calls him out on a little bit of maybe the posture. Maybe it's not lying, but a bit of the posturing that maybe Omar, or the lies he tells himself, maybe, about what he's doing.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I'm just robbing from bad guys. I'm not causing any real problems, but his friends are always getting caught in the crossfire, and he's always leaving bodies behind. And he can claim he's never putting on his gun on anybody who's not in the game, but people are getting killed because of what he's doing, and they're not all just in the game.
And the fact that it's little kids like waving their guns around, like pretending to be Omar, like he's not having maybe a direct impact, but he is impacting things that are going to ripple outwards in 10 years or so. Which
I think is, Shaun pointed out, for those that didn't catch it, maybe you've only seen it casually, that's the kid that does pull the trigger on Omar and kill Omar in the end. Is one of those kids playing in the street pretending to be Omar, caps him later on.
It's fucking annoying ass Kennard, man. I can't stand that boy, man.
He's gonna fucking set fire to a cat. He was ready to set fire to a cat.
Yeah, I'm like, what the hell?
He's pouring gasoline on a cat in the alley.
That's why when Michael beat him up in season 4, I was like, yeah.
Get that kid. Get that fucking kid.
It was weirdly satisfying watching a little child get like handcuffed and put in the back of a police car. I was like, oh, he's getting it. Yeah, get that kid.
I don't know that I had any more questions or comments on truth. Did anybody feel like there was somebody that we didn't spend a little time on that you felt like was interesting in the regard of truth?
Yeah, like who would have been a good like honorable mention kind of character for us to talk about? Like an alternate.
Well, I mean, we discussed a bunch of in the corruption chapter of this series, the politicians who were spinning truth, right? The shit of the world who were basically, I gotta hear it. And maybe what they're doing is using political truths or truths that people want to believe as a way to pawn off their lies, right? They're lumping it all together.
Carver started out corrupt and some lies, but as the season progresses, he starts to become more truthful and honest with himself. Especially with what he did in season 5 with Colangelo. he straight up, he put him on ice because he felt that he was a hothead and he was doing things improperly. So he made a tough decision, and when you make decisions like that, that's you being honest about it. You're really saying, I'm not going to cover for you when you're making irrational decisions. I'm going to honestly cut you loose. I'm going to put you on ice.
Right.
And I think that's due to the growth of him learning from Daniels with what he experienced with Daniels and then with Bunny Colvin. And then the whole situation with Randy really changed his perspective in those last few seasons.
Which is going to be our final theme discussion in a couple of weeks. We're going to be looking at character evolution, characters who maybe fail in their evolutions or characters who are successful in their redemption arcs. I think there's a lot of that cycle of can we achieve something? Can we move forward and make a difference in some way? Ryan, what about you? Was there any characters that popped to your mind right now?
I was just going to, right before you started talking about what we're doing next, I was just thinking about it would have been interesting to talk about people like Naaman, like people who are kind of fronting in a way, like all those times in the gym when he would like puff his chest out and try and get in fights with other people, and Michael would have to come over and be like, like, calm down, kid. Like, you're not that tough. People hiding who they really are. And Naaman is somebody who does evolve and get out of his current situation. So it'll be cool. I think maybe to touch on him next time.
Well, and I think you have people like Rawls too, who seems to have his own truth and has a lot of lies, or at least a lot of secrets that he's keeping. I think Rawls as a character, I think even I think that one moment, just seeing him in the gay bar when he's been talking up, fucking this and fucking that, and all, his attitude.
Because he says a lot of gay slurs in the show.
Absolutely.
Yeah. A suspicious amount.
And so you wonder about what is his truth, right? In that moment.
Yeah. The thing about Naaman was, he was living off of his father's name, and trying to act that tough guy when he ain't got his father in him.
Right.
No, he don't got the mother neither, because she was so aggressive in trying to make him like his father that he just didn't have the heart to it. Like, he tried to, but you could just see that it wasn't in him. And when the game ain't in you, you have to escape it. And luckily for him, Bunny Colvin saw that and said, the game is not built for Naaman.
Oh,
and that's why that whole scene with him and Weebay talking was one of my favorite scenes. Many favorite scenes in The Wire. But I just love that Naaman came to agreement. I mean, not Naaman. Weebay came to that agreement, like, yeah, my son ain't me.
And basically lays down the law to his wife too, as like,
yeah, I mean, it's funny.
My name.
You fought the police so long, then you hand over your son to a ex-cop.
Yep.
It's funny how life works sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I never thought about that like that before. That was good.
Well, I really do appreciate everybody in the chat or anybody watching on the replay who's checking in on us and enjoying our discussions of The Wire. I think it's a show that defies typical breakdown and discussion, and I think this is a far more abstract and meaningful way to get into some of the details here. Like I said, we're going to be talking about evolution and the possibility or difficulty in changing who you are or change in general next week or in 2 weeks. Yeah. Shaun's got a show coming up tomorrow, right? So what's going on tomorrow, Shaun?
Tomorrow, Al will be back on the show, and he's bringing Matt Oldham from the Comic Call and Roundtable discussion on there. So
nice.
It'll be a little Comic Call Roundtable discussion type show, with him on there.
Nice.
Hoping that he has a rant. I'm hoping he's gonna show some bangers, because I know of the panel on the roundtable, he shows off a lot of bangers on that show. So,
nice.
And I'm definitely looking to chat it up with him and anybody else that want to join in.
Nice. And then Ryan, I saw you as a few days ago. I think you were doing a unboxing with Tom, some little Comic Karma. So you can catch that on the Comic Com channel that I linked below. Is there anything else stewing over there in the 101 world?
I guess the next thing I'll be showing up in is our we just shot it yesterday, is the mystery mail call assembly video for the month. So I'll be showing up in that one. I went over to the comic shop yesterday and helped out.
Nice.
So there's that, and I think I'll be in the next podcast for a little bit. So I'll be around.
Nice.
For now.
I know that you got a Momoko variant coming up here in the mail call, right?
Yep.
That's
feels
pretty-
like, yeah, it feels like that's a nice constant thing to be happening. But yeah, it feels like that's happening on the regular almost.
As for me, tomorrow the girls aren't here, so it's going to be a slightly different morning show tomorrow. So people tuning in tomorrow might like it a little less without the girls here, obviously. I also have Simon R. Gifted me this from California Blend. If you don't know California Blend on Instagram, you can look right behind Shaun and see a bunch of her artwork. She is a supremely talented painter and has been creating artwork for this community like crazy. And Simon AOK'd me and Rod Justarican in his comics a piece of artwork from her. So I'm going to be opening that up at some point tonight. If you watch some of the late shows, I'm sure I'll jump on with somebody and bust this bad boy out and check it out. So stay tuned for that. Other than that, I think that's all I got going until Dungeons and Dragons on Sunday nights. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Gore. I'm glad you enjoyed this. I hope everybody else did too. Thank you, Tessa, for coming by. And thank you, Ronan, for coming by as well and for keeping Mom on the low so she's not getting in here. We don't need Mom.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
Everybody have a great night, and we will catch you in 2 weeks.
Peace out.
See ya.